Ladies and gentlemen, do you know about Magnus Carlsen? Well, if you're not living under a rock, you must know that he is the greatest chess player of all time. Do you know about the Sicilian Defense, which is arguably one of the most interesting attacking defenses against one e4 for black? Well, Magnus Carlsen has invented a new way to play against the Sicilian Defense, which I've looked at closely. I've studied his games of other practitioners of chess who employ this variant. And I finally played it a couple of times in a recent classical tournament in Almaty, Kazakhstan, where I live. Both games are very fascinating. Both games involve a queen sacrifice. You should not miss this. So let's dive into this variant and these games. I will show you the plans. You will be able to use the same weapon against the Sicilian Defense, and this will be instructive, so stay tuned. So I'm playing against a young Kazakhstani player. I'm playing with the white pieces. The player's name is Nokerbek Rahat. I love those Kazakh names, very poetic, very beautiful. So I start with one e4, c5, the Sicilian Defense, and here is the Magnus Sicilian. It starts with knight c3, and if the opponent goes d6, you go d4. This is the line. It was pioneered by Magnus several years ago. It's quite a new line. So if you're playing against an opponent who is like a chess veteran, he or she might not know this, and this would be ideal. You can surprise people. Younger players, if they are good professional players, tend to know this line, but still, even if your opponent is prepared, you will get a really interesting game against the Sicilian, which is what we all came here for, right? Chess is a game. Okay, black takes, we take. In most openings, bringing your queen out so early is not good because you get attacked and you have to spend time moving it back. But here, this has some logic because you will castle long. You see, knight c6 attacking the queen. You move back, then you fianchetto your bishop, and you castle long. This is the position. This is the move order. Any moves almost any moves that black makes, you do this. There is another variation where black develops the bishop to h6, which happened in the second game that I'm going to show you. But most players will respond by automatically developing like this and trying to instigate on this flank while castling short, and you will instigate on this flank. You will attack with your pawns, you will attack with your pieces, move your knight here. I will show you this game and you will see the plan. So opposite side castling, well, black hasn't castled yet, but he will. Opposite side castling requires you to attack. The faster the better. You don't care about anything else, you just attack your opponent because otherwise he or she will get to you first. So I put the pawn on f3 to prepare g4. He brings out his bishop, and this is not the best move because I can exploit this position of the bishop by moving the knight to e2. I've seen a game of Magnus Carlsen against, I think, young Krzysztof Duda, if I'm not mistaken, where he did the same thing against this bishop e6 move. And the point is not to take this bishop, because otherwise black could take with a pawn and have a decent position with this pawn protecting the important d5 and f5 squares. But the point is to put a knight on a great f4 square where it controls h5, for example, which will turn out to be important. I will show you now what I'm talking about. So he castles, I put the knight here. The computer says that it's an inaccuracy, but on higher depths, it says it's okay. Queen a5, trying to maybe go here and attack over here, maybe put his rooks here and pressure. This is classical Sicilian stuff. Opposite castling, attacking, etc. And I go h4. So I don't want to take this bishop. I could have, but the computer says it loses all the advantage for white. Because now my knight, for example, cannot go to this square d5 because this is protected. This pawn is, yes, these pawns are doubled, but they are quite potent and they are not bad. And my attack is stopped because I have no attacking pieces. He has 1, 2, 3 defending pieces. I have no attacking pieces. Maybe queen could go and support my attack. Maybe the rook could, but it takes time. And he's first to attack me on this flank with this, and this doesn't look nice. So no, I'm not taking his bishop. I am going to go h4 and then h5, where my knight will be very useful protecting this square, and also my rook will be activated. And this is a great position. This is what you need to do using this variant if your opponent fine kettles his bishop and castles short. This is the plan. So you put your knight here, then here. You put your king away to b1 to be sure it's safe, and then you go h4, and you go g4, and you go h5 or g5, and you demolish black. This is what you are going to get against most opponents who are not too strong. I know most of my viewers are probably not like grandmasters, so your opponents will probably not know the intricacies of this position, and they will fall prey to this dangerous opening weapon. So he went bishop h6, trying to pressure me down this diagonal, which is a logical idea, but not the best in this position. I go g4. Now I'm threatening g5, which is a fork, and it's unpleasant. It's unpleasant. The computer says that this is the best move that he should make here, giving up his bishop, but his dark squares are very weak in this position, and my attack rages on. I will put my knight maybe on d5, for example, and the position is just great. But he obviously calculated something else. And I also considered his idea. What was the idea of bishop h6? Why did he move his bishop here? So I thought that he wanted to instigate some counterplay, and that's what he did. He sacrificed his knight. The computer says it's a blunder, but actually it's quite a logical move if you come to think of it. Because if I just automatically take, and he takes, my rook is hanging. And if I, for example, move my rook back, he can go e5, and my knight is pinned. And if I, for example, I don't know, move my queen here, he just takes, and he has a better position. I could have found other ways to protect here, but this is the idea. This is not as stupid as it looks. Just giving up his knight, it's not a blunder. It's a creative way of counterplay, finding counterplay. But here, I unleashed a brilliant move, according to the chess.com engine. Can you find it? Knight c to d5, 2 exclamation points. You see, the idea is he can take, for example, my rook. I don't care. Because in this case, I take his queen. And if he takes my queen, knight takes e7 is a checkmate. You see this powerful bishop? This is like a sniper shooting through the whole board. And the knight check is a checkmate. Have you seen something like this? This is very beautiful, I think. So he cannot take the queen here. After I take it, because his knight is overworked. His knight is serving the purpose of protecting both the queen and this e7 pawn, which otherwise, if it gets taken, it's a checkmate. So he cannot take the rook in this position. What else can he do? If he does nothing, I just take his queen, and again, he loses the queen, or it's checkmate. If he takes, for example, here, the same thing. I take his queen. So he had to exchange. He took my queen, I took back, and I'm up a piece, and I have a wonderful position. He went back, and I went here. So the idea is to move away from the pin, because here the rook was pinned on d2. And also the idea is to continue attacking, because you see this bishop, you see this king, it has no legal squares. I will go h5, I will demolish him over here, and it will be game over very soon. He retreats back with his bishop, which is not the best move, but already you can't find good moves for black. And I just take. I take with a check, and I go knight c7, and my opponent gives up because his rook is attacked. If he moves it, I take here with a check, and it's a fork. He moves here, I take, and I'm up a rook, so there's no point of continuing here. And I've won a nice game in 21 moves. I think it's some proof that the Magnus Sicilian is a powerful weapon. So let's look at the second game that I played, where my opponent was already prepared. It was a couple of days later. It was round 4, I guess, of the same tournament in Almaty, and my opponent obviously looked at the games that I played before to prepare what he can expect. My opponent's name is Yermekbaev Ilyas, another young Kazakhstani player, and he prepared some other variation to refute or try to refute the Magnus Sicilian, which is impossible. Don't believe anyone who says he can refute the Magnus Sicilian. Knight c3, d6, d4. Again, I'm playing the white pieces. I'm doing the same things. I'm again trying to find Chetto, the bishop, and long castle. But here, the previous opponent played bishop g7, which is a nice move, but the best response, according to the computer, is to put the bishop here to h6, which is a bit clumsy, a bit awkward, but serves a purpose of putting pressure on my position immediately, attacking the queen. The bishop is obviously defended, so the best move here for white is to go f4, and here there are several moves. If you want to play the Magnus Sicilian, you should study all of them with your engine at home and figure out how to respond to them. But let me just tell you that the most dangerous moves are one e5, one f5, and knight f6. So 3 moves. E5 is not that dangerous, actually. You go knight b5 and you get into a great endgame. F5 is kind of dangerous, but there are various options. For example, you can sacrifice this pawn later on and just like knight f6, and you can just castle alone and let him take. And it's interesting. You should take a look at this with your engine. But my opponent responded also in a good way. Knight f6. This was obviously his prep. I could see it by his mimic, and I could see it by his facial expressions and by his time usage, but I also knew how to respond here. I went with my bishop to b2, so I'm continuing my development, and I castled alone. He tried immediately to attack me over here, and I put a pawn on a4. It's very interesting that after the game, I've spoken to my coach, Grandmaster Farukh Amanatov, who is from Tajikistan originally, but now lives in Dubai, a very strong player. And he told me that he plays the same way against the Magnus Sicilian. But here, his idea is to go d5 for black. If you're playing black against the Sicilian, against the Magnus Sicilian, check it out, because ed, knight b4, this is an interesting pawn sacrifice. This pawn is also attacked, and if white tries to, for example, defend it like this, there is this annoying move bishop f5, and this pawn becomes weak. So already black is better, so you should be careful how you play here. The best move is knight f3 here to move it to this square probably. So very interesting position, check it out. But my opponent did not know this idea by Farukh Amanatov, but he used a different idea. He moved his queen to b6, which is also logical, preparing to develop his bishop to here or to here, and then use his rooks to attack me. Also, the same ideas as always in the Sicilian when white castles long. I move my king to b1, which is a good prophylaxis in any case. He moves his knight here, I develop my bishop, and he develops his bishop to g4, attacking my rook. Many similarities between the two games, right? So I decide to block with my knight to e2, which is not the best move. I should have moved it to f3. I somehow was afraid of knight h5, I think, pressuring this pawn, but there was nothing to be afraid of. But still, it's an okay move. He develops his rook, and here I make the move h3, which is not the best one, because I allow him to do something really exciting and really complicated. I calculated everything that happened afterwards, not everything, but like 5 moves that happened afterwards, and I thought that I should be okay. The position is in the balance. But still, the computer says that after this combination that my opponent executed, black is a little bit better. Let's see. Bishop takes. Bishop takes. Well, the computer says it's a mistake, but the computer recommends taking with the queen, and then the queen loses touch with this pawn, and black can just take and then move the bishop here, and I don't have any attack, so I decided to sacrifice a queen in in the variation that followed for a very interesting compensation. So I take. He finds a brilliant move, knight takes e4. We both saw it in advance. So the idea is that if I take, he takes here, attacking my queen and putting pressure here. And if I move back, for example, like here, he can add some pressure like this. And this is like a dominating position for black, a great compensation. So I, in advance, calculated queen takes rook. Knight takes, king takes. So I sacrificed a queen for a rook and 2 pieces, a bishop and a knight. But I have this strong bishop on b2. I have the 2 bishops advantage. Another bishop, the other bishop will also pressure the position. I have quite an interesting position. I like playing with imbalances in chess, so I decided it's okay. And the computer says, well, that my decision was not horrible. So here's the computer evaluation. A little bit better for black, but after a couple of moves, it becomes even less menacing. So I move here, because here he wanted to go d5, and if I take with my rook, he takes with the queen, and the bishop is pinned, so this is a threat. I have to react to it. Knight c3 protects this. And he goes e6, and already I'm getting close to equality by computer standards. But by human standards, I think white enjoys a great position. Well, I will remove the computer evaluation to not spoil anything, because I have a great attacking prospects, and I have a lot of pieces. I could infiltrate with both of my rooks in some future, so I don't think that I'm worse here. And here I bring my king back to move it out of line of fire. He tries to pressure over here. And here I decide, he can take this pawn, this g2 pawn. I need to protect on the c file, and I go rook c1, which is a mistake, according to the computer. The computer says I should have protected this pawn, g2 pawn. I thought about it initially, but I didn't see what I will do after this. Bishop takes, and just d5. And if my bishop moves back, this other bishop gets captured. I didn't see a way. But interestingly, I have this move, rook h to d1. The computer finds it. And obviously, if the opponent takes, then this is like complete devastation, because check, 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 and this is mate. This is understandable. So you cannot take. But you can, for example, go h6. But in this case, the computer finds bishop f6. And again, if you take, check. If you take, check, you go here, checkmate. Brilliant, right? And also, black can just go here after the check, not taken. But then I take, he takes, and I go here. And he has to sacrifice the rook he sacrificed the queen for the rook, because otherwise, if he moves back, he gets mated again. So very interesting. I didn't see this variation. This is why I didn't go rook d2. Otherwise, I probably would have saved this pawn, but I decided to donate this pawn to charity, and he took it. He took it, and now he has a queen and 2 pawns for rook, bishop, and a knight. He has some material advantage, like 1 pawn, if we count that the queen is worth like 9 or 10 pawns. and the rook is worth 5, and the bishop and the knight are worth 3, but this is all formalities. Practically speaking, I still have a great position, I still have great attacking chances. I went rook d1, putting pressure on him. It's very important to coordinate your pieces well when you are playing against the queen, and here my pieces are very well coordinated. Everybody protects everybody, and yeah, the position is great. 2 bishops advantage. I felt really optimistic here. He went d5, attacking me. I went here. I decided you can take this pawn as well because I'm attacking you like this. This is what happened. And here I felt really optimistic. So he attacked my rook. I moved back. He moved his queen here. I took, he took. And here I could have forced a draw. I could have forced a draw, which is the best move according to the computer. I could have gone here, 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 and this queen is harassed. It has no good moves. It has to move back and forth and be attacked by my bishop, but I didn't want to draw. The opponent was lower rated than me, and I was pressuring him on the clock, and I also felt like my position is very interesting and nice, and I have good attacking prospects. So I didn't do that. I didn't do that in this position. I attacked his queen one time. He went queen f5. I attacked him with my rook. And here I was calculating in advance various ideas connected with knight e4, for example. This is the best move the computer recommends. Because he cannot obviously take, he will get taken here and get mated like this. This is the way to lose. Well, not immediately mated, but still mated very soon. I go here, and then I go here, and this will fall, and this will be bad news for black. So after knight e4, he cannot take the knight, but he can take the rook, but I give him a check. He moves back, and I take the rook, and this is a very interesting position. I thought I evaluated it as better for me, because I have this great bastion, great knight on f6, protected by this great bishop, but the computer actually, surprisingly, says that black is better. See this evaluation? My coach told me that my evaluation was okay, humanly speaking, because I really have good chances. For example, I can move my king here, I can move the rook. For example, he moves here, I move the rook here, and try to threaten some checkmates over here. So yeah, it was an interesting position. The computer doesn't think that black is in danger, but humanly speaking, I could have converted this into a win, definitely. But this was a tragic mistake in this position. I thought, yeah, knight e4 is great. But what's even greater? Knight takes d5. Because with the same idea, if he takes, I check him. He goes here, I take. And the difference is that he has no longer has this pawn. But I completely forgot that after knight takes d4, he can just take. And his rook is protected by the queen. This was heartbreaking for me. This was like the stupidest blunder I've made in recent history of chess. Very, very, very bad. And here I'm in a losing position. I just gave up a knight for a pawn. This was tragic. I really liked the way I played before, but here I just had to exchange. I had to put some pressure, but he was very, very pedantically preventing any types of counterplay. I tried to create counterplay on the B file, activating my rook, but he just activated his king, and I cannot take this pawn because there will be a check, and the rook will be taken next move. So yeah, he didn't give me anything. I just moved my rook to B2. He gave me a check. I tried to harass him a little bit, but his pawns were just too strong. And here, he even calculated a winning endgame. He even exchanged his queen for my rook. And this is a losing endgame for me because I'm one tempo too short. I have to give up my bishop for this pawn. And this pawn, queens first. And this is a losing endgame. Do you know how to win this endgame for black? Well, my opponent definitely knew, so I gave up here. But I will show you the way to win here is to check the king all the time, and once it gets to here, you give this check, which is a fork. The king has to go to this square to not lose the pawn, and then you just move the king forward. And the only legal move here is this, and you take the pawn and you win. So I was just one tempo too short. So had this pawn been here already, this would be a theoretical draw. But he calculated everything and won this elegant endgame. So it was a heartbreak, but still, the Magnus Sicilian is very powerful. I'm very glad at the way I could create interesting positions out of the opening against the Sicilian defense, and I will continue playing it and learning this. Drop a comment if you like this opening, and if you want to try it in future, and see you in the next videos. I will show you more recaps of my classical games from this Almaty tournament, because this was very exciting and I've played some really interesting games, both wins and losses. So stay tuned. Bye bye.